Question. When was the last time you laughed so hard you cried and it had nothing to do with your kids, your job, or folding laundry at 10 p.m.? If your brain just short circuited trying to remember, this episode is for you. We're talking girls' trips. The guilt, the group chats, the budget breakdowns, the secret rules that nobody tells you until it's too late. So, whether you're craving beachside mimosas or just 5 minutes where nobody is yelling mom, we're giving you the blueprint for a girl's trip that actually feels like a break. Because let's be honest, you love your people, but sometimes you need to leave them for 72 hours to remember who you are. This is Wander and Chat, and today we're chatting about moms gone wild. Maybe not wild, maybe just moms claiming some time with their friends.
Mom's sitting on the beach reading a book.
Yeah, we're not so wild. It's very calm. It's very calm. Okay. What do we want to talk about? How's summer going? We're just talking about how crazy our summer is. But how is summer going? Have you gotten to the Cape?
I have. So, yeah, it has been a summer, but yes, we have gotten to the Cape. And yeah, it's been great. I think, there's something about a beach vacation, like a seasonal destination. It's like a whole lot of nostalgia.
Yeah.
You find your places that you like to go to. Because we spend so much time on the Cape in the off season, we kind of have our like summer routine and our winter routine. Anything that's open year round, we do not visit in the summer, right? Like we
Yeah.
we spend the summer visiting places that we traditionally can't go to in the off season. But yeah, it has been really popular on the Cape. I know East Coast summer is like a huge trending topic on TikTok, so everybody's, loving their beach getaways and it's been really busy. There is this place, and I have never been there, but it's like a little coffee shop, and apparently one of their drinks went like maybe it's called like the Fluffy Seagull or something. It's like
Hmm.
a coffee drink. It went completely viral.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's, I've seen photos of like people hanging out, waiting for this, like in line for this drink. There, I know I've mentioned it once before, but there is, the Cape Cod bracelet is very famous.
Hmm.
And there's one place that makes that bracelet, like the original creator, like the authentic creator. That company has gone online only for this summer. And so there's another guy, he used to work for them and he created his own jewelry line and he's selling it out of a store on the Cape. And it started out like he was going to sell it over the weekend. It has gotten so viral that he can only sell on Saturdays.
Oh,
He
wow.
opens at 10. People are in the parking lot at like
Oh,
7.
my gosh.
People are bringing chairs. He's cash only. He like tells everybody what he's going to have on Instagram and TikTok like the week before. So yeah, there's been like a lot of like viral moments happening on the Cape.
Yeah, the same at the Jersey Shore. And I am a little bit out of the loop because we've been busy and, stuff going on. But one of the Disney bloggers that I watch on YouTube or Disney YouTubers did a whole Jersey thing. Apparently, she's originally from New Jersey. So she came up to visit the Jersey Shore and she did kind of the same thing. She went to all the places that are TikTok viral. And one of
Mhm.
them is a coffee shop. It's called McGee's Black Irish Coffee. And she waited over 2 hours in line for a bucket of coffee. Like, I love my coffee, but I'm not waiting 2 hours for it unless I stop at Starbucks on the way and get a coffee to
Right,
give me
right.
the stamina to do it. But
You need the
I,
coffee to wait for your coffee.
you do. And I'm going to need the bucket after 2 hours standing in the hot summer sun. But I think that's so cool that people are that social media is giving people these like really cool don't miss moments at these summer destinations because, they're gone so quickly. They're
Yeah.
done until next
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And when these places are the type of places like this guy says he's going to sell jewelry year round. So I'm like, I will be dealing, I will be there in October.
Yeah.
But I know it's like, it's an experience. People
Yeah.
enjoy it. They talk to other people in line, they meet each other. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. So let's do a deep dive into one of the greatest forms of self care known to womankind, the girl's trips. Now, these are not just for Instagram people. I know that's what you're thinking, that you can't do it. They're not just for bachelorette weekends. I don't care if you're a middle-aged grandmom, you can still do it. If you're a mom, a workaholic, you're maybe both. We're going to chat today about how to plan one without the guilt, the drama, or definitely without the debt. We've made all the mistakes in our girls' trips, so you don't have to. And Jody, I'm just going to throw it to you. Just give everybody a little history of our girls' trips.
Yeah, so we've gone on these trips. I mean, my kids were little, right? And they're in college now. So we have gone on these over many, many years. And we started doing this because we had worked together um, on the Plan Disney panel when it was called something different. And, there was a group of us who we were already travel lovers, right?
Yeah.
We were already the planners. And so we started doing these trips. And I think it's a great opportunity, obviously, to catch up. We all have friends now across the country, across the globe, right? From
Yeah.
college and growing up or whatever. It's a great opportunity to kind of reconnect, but also to kind of unplug a little bit. And, if you're a mom, you kind of do have a good opportunity to kind of, you know, get some time off and
Yeah.
enjoy. And I will say, and I was talking about this with somebody else, but we've done these trips over Mother's Day weekend, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't recently because of like kids coming home from college, but that's a great time to do it, honestly.
I think it's the best time. And when I've told other moms about it, they're like, why didn't we think of that? Because
Yeah.
even though it's Mother's Day weekend, like, are the kids making a mess to make you breakfast in bed Mother's Day? Is your husband struggling to find something to do? Do you not want to go to the local brunch place because it's ridiculously crowded? It's a great
Right.
weekend to go away.
Yeah, I mean, one of my kids came home on or we had to move him out on Mother's Day, so we didn't like celebrate Mother's Day that
Hmm.
day, but we celebrated it like a week later, and it was better because
Yeah.
it was just us celebrating.
Yeah. I totally agree. The big,
Um,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that the big thing about a girls' trip, right, is and this is kind of something that a lot of people say, but like you have to get it out of the group chat, right? So that's the big thing.
Yeah. And we still struggle with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though we've done it for a long time, we still get stuck on the let's do this and then there's crickets kind of a thing.
Right, right.
So
You
it
need like
happens.
someone who's taking the lead, right?
Yeah, we're all too quiet. We're not aggressive enough.
Yeah.
Here's the big question I think a lot of moms are going to have. How do you handle the mommy guilt? And I mean, we have done trips without our kids to Disney World, which is like, who does that?
Right, right. So I think, obviously, you know, everybody's got their own level of comfort with their family situation, but I think we've all seen it as like it's a recharge thing. It's, recharging your battery. It's having something to look forward to. It's relaxing. It's, an opportunity for your family to kind of do things different when you're not around, right?
Hmm.
I think there shouldn't be the guilt because the benefit you get from it really does benefit the whole family.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. So, how do you handle the stuff at home? Because, if things don't go the way your family at home expects, that adds to your guilt.
Yeah, I think so. First and foremost, this is the important thing for me. Like, and I think we all have this, right? Like within our group, is that there's just like non-negotiables. Like, you're not going away during, my kids are home from break for a weekend.
Yeah,
You're not going away then. You're not going away for any big events that they have at school or, the prom or,
yeah,
big sporting events or, we've all brought this stuff up when we've talked about dates. Nope, can't go that weekend. Nope.
yeah.
And I think that's really important because that's when it gets really difficult is when you feel like you're missing stuff. So you find a time when, maybe like, there's never a time where like nothing's happening, but you want it to be, okay, I'm missing a regular basketball game or, not like the playoffs.
Yeah.
If that's important to your family, right? And then, you want to obviously make sure that things are running smoothly. So, I don't think of this necessarily as, taking on too much, but like when my kids were in school and I would leave very specific instructions about
Hmm.
things. Like, I would meet with my husband and talk about like these are the things that happen. Like, here are the nuances. If you're picking up here, remember that you should park over here, or like just
Yeah.
like when my mom has stayed here to watch the kids, even stuff like, hey, my car's electric, here's how it turns on, because she was using
Yeah.
my car, like, so just really kind of thinking through like your routine before you go and just thinking about, okay, these are the things that you should know. And obviously, as the kids get older, they can start to say, wait, yeah, you pick me up over there. Or you like, they can actually
Yeah.
kind of tell. Even now, I have an elderly dog, and when I leave, and I'm the one who takes care of her, but when I leave, these are the pills and these are the times.
Yeah.
You're doing that just to make everything easier because you don't want things to go wrong. Now, I'm going to say I travel a lot for work. And I've had, my daughter's broken an arm while I've been gone. We've had like a roof leak. I mean, these things do happen, like you can't control them. And you can't think of all of those things and make a plan for all of them. So there is just like some trust in whoever you're leaving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say just leaving things in the best condition possible. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. And dads are, even in this day and age, there's still the very typical dad who kind of relies on mom to know who has to be where and when and where the soccer cleats are or where the hair ties are. Like, I think moms just automatically assume a lot of that responsibility. So even if it's, that your husband is capable of taking care of everybody, just refreshing his knowledge as to, here's where the hairbrush is, here's who so and so's teacher is if they call, or just those kind of little things to make sure that they feel comfortable that they can handle things while you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, it's those things, they're in a place that you make perfect sense to you, but don't necessarily make perfect sense to everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, it's a balance, right? Because it's like you're also taking some time for yourself. So you don't want to double your workload the week before, but just kind of setting everybody up in the best position is obviously better for everyone.
Yeah. So how do you decide where to go? What is the perfect vacation spot for a girls trip?
So I think, you know, obviously you want to have like a certain vibe. You want to go to a theme park, you want to go to the beach, you want to, tour a city. You want to look at budget's a big thing, right? Because not everybody has the same savings, income, budget for this type of trip, right? That
Yeah.
these are um, discretionary trips that are not always in the budget. And then, obviously timing. So, you know, when you're going to go. And I think the vibe is the most important, right? Because
Hmm.
whether you go to a city or you go to, a spa somewhere, like those are very different trips to plan.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the multi-gen episode, and it's very much the same in this one, right? Like a cruise is great. That's what we typically do because you've got, someone could go to the pool if they wanted to. Somebody, you can kind of do your own thing while still being on the ship. And an all-inclusive resort would be similar.
Yeah.
The most, where you can minimize like having to plan every meal or renting cars. That makes it a lot easier, right? If you're at an all-inclusive, you're on a cruise ship, you can just go to the buffet.
Hmm.
If someone likes seafood and somebody doesn't matter. It's not like you're going to, a restaurant where they only serve seafood and maybe like a Caesar salad.
Yeah. Right.
So that's obviously, big. I think if you, want like more of a luxurious stay, obviously cruises do have, some element of luxury depending on what you book, but some of these all-inclusive resorts too, where, you really could do spa, pool, beach, nap.
Yeah.
And I think obviously city vacations are an option if you want to do that. It just obviously would take like a little more planning.
Yeah.
Some people like to do really like adventurous things when they're on vacation, right? So that's when you would maybe consider a place where you could do zip lining but again, that's like you got to look at the whole group, right?
Yeah. That's so true. And there are a lot of options that you can be really budget conscious, even on a cruise. Like you don't have to do a Cunard sailing or, an
Right.
expensive sailing. You can pick a cruise line that's a little more budget friendly. And the same with like hotels and destinations. And I think one of the things, just in talking to some of my friends and even some of my daughter's friends, they don't remember when they're planning this trip, you're only paying a portion of it. Like
Right, right, right,
when you're planning for your family and it's a $300 a night hotel room, you're thinking that's more than I would want to spend.
right.
But if you're with a group of people and it's $300 a night hotel room, you might be splitting it two or three ways. That's totally doable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's where I did like this retreat, like this girls' retreat that we had planned, and it was in Destin, Florida. It was a while back, but we had a vacation rental and we had gone out one night and like went to some place that served like food in like big trays and just like ordered dinner, but then we stocked that in the fridge and that's what like we pulled out for lunches, right? So,
Yeah.
you don't have to go out to like fancy dinners every night. You don't have, I'm not advocating that you go on a girls trip and like do chores.
Yeah.
I would say that's like the opposite of what you want to do. But I mean, there are like a lot of options to not make it crazy expensive.
Yeah. And I think knowing that you're splitting at least accommodations, maybe some transportation like a rental car or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
it makes it more attainable. Like if you don't feel like you're spending your kids' college fund to go on a trip, it's definitely helps with the guilt, it helps with the planning, it helps you think, no, this is something that I can do for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think what's really important is just very much being honest upfront, right? I think, again, like I said with the dates, like upfront, these are the dates I can't do. You know, these are the things I don't think I would, okay, you're all booking like a rock climbing expedition. I'm going to tell you, I'm not climbing rocks.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to be like super, super honest up front.
What is the best way to talk about something touchy like a budget without
Yeah.
just ruining the whole trip?
So I think that, I mean, that's obviously a big one, right? Because people are in different life stages. People have different discretionary income. Um, and I think ultimately when it comes down to it, like everybody wants everybody to come on the
Hmm.
trip, right? So you have to know your friends. You have to be comfortable with that's out of my budget, saying something like that's out of my budget.
Yeah.
You don't want to push something that seems out of other people's budget. And I think it's like a level of like comfort with people because there are options obviously for okay, well, these guys are going to stay in the suite and this other, but honestly, no, I don't think anyone wants that in their trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to compromise, but you don't want anyone to be like stretched to the point of stress on the trip.
Yeah, totally agree. But that's where your point about, be upfront with stuff, be forward with stuff. Tell somebody that's not in my budget.
Yeah, and I think too, like, and we do this with our trips, right? Is like we have a date, we look at various options for, cruises. Is it a 3 day? Is it a 4 day? Are we doing something up front? Sometimes somebody has points that they're willing to use or a free certificate they're willing to use, right? So
Hmm.
you kind of figure all that out. But then you look at the flights because we've had trips where we thought we were going to go and then we looked and said, oh, I don't know what's going on that weekend, but like
Yeah.
I can't leave the city for less than $600 or something. But you have to say that, right? And that shouldn't be, it's hard to talk about money, but you know, don't say, "Oh, I'm just not going to be able to go." Be honest. Those flights are crazy.
Yeah. Because you don't want to feel, I don't know, it's a touchy subject, especially with women, because you don't want to feel like someone's excluded. But also, if they're not being honest with you and
Right, right,
saying, I just can't do the flights, that if you just say, I'm just not going to do the trip, that
right,
eliminates
right,
the possibility of say, okay, well, we'll just do a driving place. Like we'll just
right,
go
right, right.
where you can get there in the car. So yeah, honesty is a good thing.
Yeah, and sometimes, you move the flight or the cruise by a couple of days and suddenly, things prices magically go down.
Yeah.
It's hard it can be difficult to figure out the patterns of what, we know holidays are generally more expensive, right? Certain times of the year, but sometimes just you have no idea why these prices are high these days, and you can look at other days and think, wow, that's so much different. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just being totally honest up front.
Do you think it helps? I know we've never done it, but you might have done it with other trips. Do you have something like a Google Doc or something that everybody can kind of see and contribute to?
I would only probably do something like a Google Doc if you were planning something where you were booking a lot. Like if you were going on a trip to New York City and you were booking, tickets to a show and reservations, maybe you'd want like a central place where people can assign who's going to make these reservations. But I think for something like we would do, like a cruise or like an all inclusive, you don't really have a whole lot of preparing to do, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, I would say,
Yeah. I think the way we travel I mean, there's really not a lot to think about. Like you get
right,
there, you go on the cruise, everything is taken care of, it's all covered. I think that works. But I think if you do have, like you said, you're going to New York, you want to know where the dinner's going to be, how much I have to
right.
budget for, are we going to go to shows? Like it might help to just keep everybody in line.
Yeah, I would definitely do like probably like a Google sheet or a Google Doc to keep all of that, keep track of everything and just who's doing what, because you don't want to get there and be like, okay, who got the tickets to Hamilton, and
Yeah.
nobody bought them.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of brings up a point of like when you're splitting expenses, that can be tricky. And you're going to split expenses, right? Like somebody's going to have paid for. So that could make it easier if you were just keeping track of like, okay, I bought the tickets, you paid for the rental car. Everybody kind of books their own flight usually, but the
Yeah.
hotel you might be splitting. And then it's like a math project, right? Like of who spent what. We do that and then we do like a Venmo to try to balance everything out. But we do that kind of in our heads, which is surprising actually. That we do that because we're like, wait, you got the Uber and you got the like it's pretty good.
Yeah. And you're a math person. I am not a math person. I'm very tempted half the time to write it in notes. Like, wait a minute, did I pay this one for that? Or how much was that Uber? Did I pay for an
Well,
Uber?
I
It's
mean,
just,
there have been times where we've had multiple trips planned. So it's
yeah,
like, wait, did you pay for that Uber or did you make the deposit for that trip? Yeah, so obviously that could be a good use of like a Google sheet or something.
yeah. Okay. And this is the worst question. This is super, super touchy, but how do you pick who gets included or who gets excluded from these trips?
So, yeah, that really like sometimes it's very straightforward, right? Like these are the five people I had, in my suite in college and we all hang
Yeah.
out, right? Um, let's face it, these things usually end up on social media, right? People know that this trip has happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a challenge. I'm in a group chat right now for a college reunion type group trip that I think might have like 36 people in it
My goodness.
with a kind of like add anyone we've forgotten sort of thing. Now that's not how many people will end up on the trip, but I think it'll be like a fraction of that. But that was kind of like a very open invitation, spanning. It's a college trip, but it's spanning like multiple years of college,
Hmm.
different people overlapping. But I think that there's times where someone has to be excluded. There's times where like we've on our trips there's always been a time where someone has had to bow out. This is a bad year, my kid's graduating, or
Yeah,
and then depending on the activity, we do cruises, right? There's people who will not get on a cruise ship.
for sure. My sister is one of those people. And she's not offended. Like if we're doing some kind of a family trip or a get together and I don't invite her, she's not offended, especially if it's a cruise. She's like, don't invite me. Like, I don't want to know that you're going. I don't want to know what the plan is. If I'm your emergency contact, they'll call me when you drown in the middle of the ocean, which is what her belief is for everybody that cruises. But I would never invite her and she would never be offended.
Right, right. And I think, inviting people who don't know the group, right? A lot of times when you go on girls trips, like people will say, "Wow, that's really fun. I wish I had like a group of people I could travel with," right? But you can't, you don't want to just bring along someone who may not fit in the dynamic or
Yeah.
who has different expectations. So that can be challenging too, like figuring out, is there like a person who doesn't know all these people who I want to bring? Because, there's a lot of like trust and reliability that happens in these trips, right? You're generally sharing rooms, you're splitting expenses, you know, you have to be very like respectful of each other, and you don't necessarily want to like introduce a new person.
Yeah. And I think that's, this happened to me one time where I was planning a trip with like this circle of girlfriends, and happened to be in the vicinity of a work friend. And the work friend was very much like, oh, I would love to do that, and
Yeah.
sort of invited herself. And again, back to the like, I'm not an aggressive person kind of a thing. It's very hard to then say, no, 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 this is just for this
Right, right,
circle.
right.
So, but you really want to be very mindful of that, because had she actually gone on this trip, which she didn't end up doing only because I think it was a cousin or a sister or somebody was getting married the same weekend. Thank goodness. Because I think if you're the person that has this tag along person with you, you've now got to worry about incorporating them into
Right,
conversation.
right, right,
Do they like the same things? Like, we're going to go on a Disney cruise. Well, this person hates Disney,
right,
but that's what this group is doing.
right,
Like,
right,
you
right.
have to watch the circles.
Yeah, it's really hard, and I think, there's just, we said before in the last episode, you don't know people till you travel with them, right? The friend that, is rude to wait staff or something is like not someone you might enjoy having phone conversations with them and whatever, but maybe you don't want to travel with them, right?
Yeah.
So, what you don't want to do is, like we said, getting the girls trip out of the group chat is very difficult.
Hmm.
Most people don't do it, honestly. So once you do, you want to make sure that, you're not putting all these obstacles in place. And if you have bad time, you're never going to do this again, right? If you're uncomfortable or so, yeah, I think you do have to have boundaries, but some people might surprise you. You might end up making new friends.
Yeah. It's hard though. It's hard to integrate different circles.
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled with a lot of people through Adventures by Disney trips or, as a travel writer on trips that were planned for me. And I've, met people who I have really, really, really connected with and loved traveling with. So it can be a way to really, meet some fantastic people or get closer to people. But yeah, you don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Are there unwritten rules that we should probably write somewhere for women in the future generations to follow?
Yeah, and I think, a lot of this stuff comes like intuitively, right? Like, you know, you want to split the chores or split the responsibilities. I think like with our friends, and we don't, we're not booking a vacation rental or anything, but like, we've got, because I think we're a group of planners to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that we're like, wow, we didn't plan that or we didn't think about that, right? Like, we've got everything. One of us has figured something out. Like, here's the transportation or here's where we're staying but, I think beyond that, you want to split the chores if there's cooking, cleaning, driving,
Hmm.
like I went on a trip. This was back when we did the Destin trip, right? Like two of us were like, we don't want to drive. Like we'll do like a Uber or whatever.
Hmm.
And then one of the women was like, I prefer to drive and I'll do all the driving, but can we share the rental car, right? Like totally honest, totally upfront. She knew she was doing all the driving. Right, perfect. You don't want to, sometimes some of us do need downtime. I think you were on the cruise where we were doing cookie decorating and I walked in that room and was like, absolutely not today. It was just a madhouse. Were you on that?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just like it hit me as like a nope. Like
Yeah, the Christmas cruise was crazy in
yeah,
there.
yeah. Um it seemed like a good idea. I was like, this is this is not for me today. But you be honest.
Yeah.
Not for me. I'll be sitting on the balcony reading. You just, you're going to watch out for each other. So you want to make sure like where did you go?
Yeah.
Think about like who's sharing rooms, right? Like if you've
Oh,
got
for sure.
night owls or, morning people, kind of arrange it that way. We've had trips where, do you remember the one where we booked the room that had like the one pull-out couch and like the one really nice king bed, and
Yeah.
all of us who slept on the pull-out couch ended up not sleeping on the pull-out couch by the end of the night because it was like sleeping on like a brick wall.
Yeah.
Those are things that you need to communicate, right? Like with the cruise, right? There's like this bed, there's like the pull-out couch, there's like the trundle, right? There's a bunk. We kind of either naturally rotate,
Hmm.
I think, or like we've even pulled numbers, right? But you want to be like comfortable with your friends in order to
Yeah.
have those conversations. And no judgment, right? Like if someone needs the downtime or someone's, would prefer to, like I mentioned before, like I like to, I take some time and I have to get in the shade, right? Um, not a not a I don't feel like hanging out, more like just for my safety, I can't get that much sun.
Yeah.
And I was on a trip where I was kind of doing that and wasn't like upfront about like, oh, I need to avoid the shade. And someone came over to me and was like, is everything okay? And I was like,
Yeah.
I probably should have just said, hey, listen, like, and you know me, like, I'm not looking for everybody else to sit in the shade. Like, I don't care. I'll sit there with my book and my like drink or diet, or iced coffee or whatever, and um, enjoy it. But you have to kind of understand that not everybody's in the same place at the same time, right?
Yeah. And I have done trips with people, and I have a cousin who did a trip with a person, and the no judgment thing goes a really long way. Like she scrimped and saved for this Disney vacation with her friends, and she was super excited about it. And one of the things that she was most excited about was she had saved some extra money to go to the Disney outlets. And she was so excited to just walk through, and she wanted to bring gifts back for everybody. And she really worked hard to make sure she had that extra money in her budget.
Hmm.
And she was traveling with someone who had not done that extra saving, who like totally dumped on her. Like, how dare you? You know that we don't all have the same money. What are you like spending money on your credit card? That just a whole spew of judgy things came out of
Yeah,
this other friend's mouth that was like, no, I worked overtime. I
yeah,
did a
yeah,
second job so that going on this trip, I had money for all the things I wanted. So, yeah, the no judging thing goes a long way.
yeah, yeah. And I think, like I said, I mean, everybody, if you're friends, I mean, obviously people do girls trips with people that they live near,
Yeah.
but if you're going with people you haven't seen, you don't necessarily get the daily updates from them, right? So sometimes, like I know when we all get together, it's like we have the first night where we just have like the download of like, oh, here are all the crazy things that have happened in the last
Yeah.
6 months or whatever. So you don't necessarily like know what's going on in someone's life. So yeah, I think it's a nice balance of like, I'm glad that somebody did ask me like if I was okay, because if I wasn't, I would have really appreciated that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, but you also just want to have like a great time.
Yeah.
And I think we've found a great balance of like, I mean, you mentioned before, like we went to the sit down restaurant, other people went to the buffet. Some people do the silent disco. Some people that's not their thing, right? Like there's no judgment
Yeah.
at all. But I think, it probably took a little while for us to get there where it's like we know each other's patterns now.
Yeah, I think for the first time in 15 years, we went to the sit down restaurant at lunch instead of braving the buffet. Because, I mean,
Right.
you do have that, like, oh, we should all go together and do the thing
Right.
together. So I think as you grow and develop, and it just works out well. And you mentioned before about everything ending up on social media. Is there an unwritten rule about that? Should you not be tagging your friends on social media posts?
I think so. I think if you're someone who has told your boss that you are sick, yeah. If you're like, or, you know, maybe someone at home, like you don't want them to know for whatever reason. Maybe you've left a family member behind who's, not doing great and they maybe won't want to see this, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever reason, just be honest, right?
yeah,
Don't tag me. I don't think we don't have that issue, but I
no,
mean, I know people who have had that issue, and you just be honest and you don't tag them. You don't
Yeah.
publish something that, people are going to be uncomfortable with.
Yeah, I agree. I tried not to tag people, and then especially my daughter is good at this. I'll get like 50 requests. Can I tag this picture? Can I tag this picture? So, but I always err on the side of just don't tag it. They might not like the way they look. You don't know what they've said to other people, so we're just not going to do it.
No, and like, if your friend's enjoying some time in the silent disco, like, no, don't pull out the camera and like, don't do stuff like that.
Well, now that I know you won't do it, I might go to the silent disco next time.
I like the silent disco and I was never going to record. I'm too busy, like, trying to figure out what everyone else is listening to.
All right, final hot take. Why do we need a girls' trip?
Well, I could give you 100 reasons, but I think it's because, moms and dads too, like, we need connection. We need to, like, laugh and we've had so many funny moments,
Yeah,
like these, like, inside jokes and things that have happened. You need a break from your mental load. Vacations, the planning part is fun, the actual trip is fun. Um, and when you're in the midst of motherhood, sometimes you need to kind of, this is who I am,
yeah,
right? Outside of everything that I do on a daily basis. So, yes, it is, I think, great for your, you know, recharging your battery and becoming a better mom, spouse, all those things.
yeah. I agree.
Mail call, question stories, let's hear it all. From you to us, it's wonder and chat. So grab a seat, let's talk just like that.
We had some questions come up from our prior episodes. One, this is for you, is do you have anything special you'd recommend for a multi-gen trip? Something that we'll just really cherish in years to come?
I have to give full credit to my daughter for this because this was absolutely brilliant. But she bought each of my grandchildren a journal, and my grandchildren are 4, 6, and 7. So they're still little. Spelling in the English language is not necessarily
Right.
in their full command yet, but she brought them out at dinner every evening while we were waiting for our meals to come, and she let them record what the best part of their day was. So whether they drew a picture or whether they wrote down what their favorite thing was and then put a little bit of a story to it, it was so good for them to just recap the day. And I know that they're, going to look at these journals in years to come. Like it will just keep the memories fresh for them.
That's
Um,
awesome. I love that.
I loved it. And the other thing, I like to do a photo book, and I know people really have moved away from printing photos. We don't have photos anymore. We have them on our phones or on our Facebook
Yeah,
pages or
I
Instagram.
hardly ever print
Yeah,
photos.
I don't in my normal life, but if I go on a big trip, especially like a multi-generational trip, it's just something nice to have. Like, I don't know if you have a photo album from when you got married. I'm married closing in on 30. We still, like my kids and my grandkids will still pull out my wedding album. Not every day, but they like to look at the pictures. I like to reminisce about the day and everything. So I think a photo book for a multi-generational trip is kind of that. You're not going to pull it out every day. It's not something you're going to look at every day. But when you do pull it out, it just gives you all those memories and brings back all the feelings. So I think photos are a huge way to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done like the photo pass books that Disney has done in the past.
Hmm.
Those have been just fun to have.
Yeah.
For our wedding, actually, I did like my own scrapbook, and because we had our anniversary, I just pulled it out. And the kids love to look at the pictures. I think like just sitting with a book as opposed to like here are like the pictures online. There's just
Yeah.
like more attention.
Yeah, totally agree.
So yeah,
And they're great gifts if you want to, for Christmas, everybody that was on the trip gets a photo book or every family gets a photo book. It's just something nice that you can send at Christmas time or, for Mother's Day or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely a great idea.
Yeah.
I've found too, like this is a little bit different, but like when my kids were little, we would work a lot on like specific souvenirs.
Hmm.
Like Disney, obviously pins and stuff like that. My sister for a while was collecting like keychains, but But it can be fun to be, especially like where you guys were on a cruise and like went to a bunch of different destinations to kind of like know that like you're on the hunt for whatever. So people like are
Yeah.
all kind of looking for it in a store.
Yeah. I think that's
A
a
lot of
great
people
idea.
will
And I
do
wish I had done that with my kids.
like Christmas ornaments. If you,
Hmm.
you know, do a Christmas tree, refrigerator magnets, or keychains are all kind of fun souvenirs.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wish I had done that. I was very much, we'll just everybody will get a t-shirt or whatever. And this was back in the days before somebody came up with the we make a quilt out of all the t-shirt kind of a things.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I wish I had been more specific in souvenir hunting for my kids when they were little.
I think like you want to look for something that you can have a lot of,
Yeah.
right? Like, um, it becomes like if you got a sweatshirt or something that's very challenging to pack, like 7 sweatshirts,
Yes.
but seven refrigerator magnets, like that's pretty easy.
Yeah, for sure. So
Um,
instead of doing news this week, we want to talk about the Cancun airport because it was news to me that they do this one thing that I absolutely hate.
Yeah. So I think everyone hates this, right? Is like, so we used to like if you go through the mall, right? When my kids were little, we used to sing Arabian Nights as we walked through the mall because it was very much that like the merchants trying to grab at you, trying to straighten your hair.
Yes.
And so the Cancun airport has turned into this. At
Oh
least the
my gosh.
international terminal, there are those skincare people. And it does feel like the opening of Aladdin where people are, come look at this, come it's very uncomfortable to
Hmm.
have people trying to pull you, especially like you're in the airport, you're in a hurry, like I'm going to the bathroom, I'm getting a bottle of water.
Yeah.
So it is very, very uncomfortable. Also, I've heard, so I did a little research on this afterwards because I was like, why are I mean, they are like everywhere, like almost unavoidable. There's like quite a few threads on Reddit of people who've been scammed. Like if they do buy something, they're asked for their passport,
Hmm.
which gets photocopied, which is uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but also that they get home and they thought they were spending X amount of dollars, but they're actually spending like a lot more. So yeah, just try to avoid those. And
Yeah.
they try to bring you in. So they'll be like, "Hey, like those are awesome shoes. Where did you get those from?" Or like, "Oh, I love your bag," or, you know, things that like, you try to like it's easy if someone says, "Do you want a sample?" to be like, "Oh no, thank you." But if someone says, "Hey, I love your shoes. Where'd you get them from?" Like, it's not in our intuition to say, "I'm not interested," right?
Yeah. No, that makes me so uncomfortable.
The other thing like that I thought was interesting at the airport is like, I had a lot of time and I was really hopeful for like some authentic Mexican food before I got on the plane. And they had, I think it was like Guy Fieri's, Margaritaville. Oh, I forgot the other one, but Bubba Gump shrimp.
Oh my gosh.
So it was quite disappointing that there wasn't, any like
Yeah.
local spots. Like if you've flown through Miami, there's like phenomenal food in the Miami airport. Local food.
That's another tip that I learned from you on my last trip home from Miami. I hit up empanadas. I had never gotten them there before. It was always like, I'm just going to go, grab whatever, a bag of chips or whatever. And I was like, no, Jody said get empanadas. And it was the best decision.
Yes, they're so good. I
So,
almost missed a flight in line for empanadas. The guy in front of me was like, "What's that flavor? What's that
oh
flavor?" I'm
gosh.
like, "Come on, just let me get my empanada." Um, yeah. So, but if you're looking for that in the Cancun International Terminal, just find a seat and put your head down.
That's so good to know. I hate that. It always makes me so uncomfortable because again, not aggressive enough to say, no, I'm not interested and keep walking. I'd have a whole conversation about shoes and I would walk out of there with $300 worth of hair product or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It's like uncomfortable because you're just not expecting it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's not great. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us with this episode. You probably could tell we really, really love this topic. So we are happy to talk girls trips anytime if you want to. Our Facebook page is really the best place to ask questions and have discussion. You can always leave a comment too, but I think the Facebook group, which you can find at Wander and Chat, is always the best place to kind of have a fun discussion. And we are excited next week. We're going to talk all about road trips. So in the
Woohoo.
meantime, please be sure to subscribe to us on any of the channels that you're listening and join us next week.
We remembered.